leading this panel, award-winning podcaster, Cannabis Podcaster of the Year, multiple times. I don't know if you listened to Planted with Sarah Payan. It's fantastic. She's the partner and vice president of PR and communications for Pulse Signal Agency, and she's here for us right now. Let's hear it for Sarah Payan.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to have a very interesting conversation. Give me one moment while I grab my notes because we have a lot to talk about. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm Sarah Payan. I am the host and producer of Planted with Sarah Payan podcast. I'm also the vice chair of the California Advisory Committee. And like Ngaio said, I'm also the partner and VP at Pulse Signal Agency. We're having this conversation at a really interesting moment for the industry. Across Europe, and especially here in Germany, margins are tightening, supply is increasing, and the regulatory framework is becoming more clearly defined. At the same time, operators are navigating real constraints about how they communicate, educate, and reach patients. And in a medical market, that changes the rules. This is not an environment where you can rely on traditional marketing or broad messaging, so the question becomes something more fundamental. How do you build trust? How do you ensure consistent patient access? And how do you actually stand out when the usual tools are not available? Because what we're seeing right now is that visibility isn't the issue, credibility is. And the companies that understand that shift are the ones that are going to rise to the top. And just to frame as a framework, because I want to be very sensitive to this, I am coming from the United States where marketing is very different, and some of the things that we do there are not acceptable here. So this is not about promoting consumption. This is about how responsible operators build trust, access, and reliability within a medical framework. So today I'm joined by Rose Fulton, who is the founder and CEO of Pulse Signal Agency. She works across regulated markets, measuring what actually drives performance when traditional marketing breaks down. And Manuel Christian Kesha, CEO and co-founder of Helios Cannabis, operating inside Germany's medical framework at the intersection of distribution, policy, and patient access. Also, Stefan Adamite, managing director of Mexican Pharma, expert in GMP, GDP compliance, supply chain integrity, and pharmaceutical-grade cannabis distribution. And Sean Credle, international consultant at New Holland Group, and the Florida Regional Chairman of the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. He is a strategic advisor, bridging brands, and bands. You have a band? You know.
I kind of do.
Retail and patient behavior across the US and EU markets, focused on turning positioning into measurable outcomes. Welcome, and thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Now I'm going to switch to my questions, because I have some very good ones for you. So we have some questions that we'll be going through. We'll also be doing a quick round of questions as well. And we're going to have some fun. So let's start out with Rose. Rose, where is the biggest disconnect between what companies think is working and what is actually driving results?
It's a great question. I think I see some disconnect when people are bringing playbooks from other markets and not realizing what we do in other markets for third-party data sourcing and pixel tracking and lookalike is not what we can do here with the GDPR that requires us to focus on consent-based, compliance-first marketing.
Thank you for that. And Sean, where are brands getting demand creation wrong now?
Say that one more time.
Where are brands getting demand creation wrong now?
Well, I think, like Rose was saying, I think you're bringing playbooks that resonate with the U.S. that doesn't resonate with the EU. For instance, culture and lifestyle is really big in the U.S. That does not transfer to the EU, being that it's a pharmaceutical market. So the foundation needs to be flipped. You need to focus on patient care, and lifestyle and adult use will follow.
Thank you. Manuel, what does standing out actually look like in Germany's medical framework?
Yeah, so since we are a medical compounding pharmacy, it is difficult to compare to stand out since everybody has access to the same products, and since it's a pharmaceutical, of course we can't advertise. So what we did, we are focusing on the local market. We do online shipment as well, of course, but our key is that we are a local dispensary, like in the US, you would suggest in the US, and so we talk to the patients, give them access to the flower directly without waiting, and give them an opportunity to live a little bit of culture right at our front door.
So it's less about visibility and more about execution inside constraint.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into the market reality. So Stefan, what does the market actually reward right now?
Yeah, as you pointed out, all of you, it's a different market. So we can't advertise, not in that sense, and we at Remix, and we appreciate all the approaches to be more patient-driven and to remember it's a pharmaceutical product, we are not serving consumers, but patients. Mm-hmm. So that's important, and that's actually what drives our operations, which means we have to be compliant with all the rules producing a pharmaceutical product. That's most important, I would say.
Okay. And Sean, what are global operators misunderstanding about entering Europe or Germany?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of the same. You need to build trust, and you're dealing with the pharmacies and the doctors, not necessarily consumers first. So you need to get on their side and make them understand that your product is going to help their patients.
Yeah, I mean, I wish we were having more of those conversations in the United States, because there's been a huge disconnect. You know, we started out as medicinal in many of our states, and the activists that were working towards that, they really meant that, and people used to think that it was just an inroad. And now, as we've gotten into adult use throughout the United States, it almost feels that way, even though it's not from the people who originated with the heart and soul of serving the patient. So we have a lot to learn from this. Let's do a little quick round. So we're going to do Rose, Manuel, Stefan, and Sean. One word: most underrated factor.
Consent.
Quality.
I would say compliance. That's.
Yeah.
I'd say consistency. If you buy a Coca-Cola here, which I wouldn't drink Coca-Cola, but if you buy a Coca-Cola here, it should taste the same as it does in Botswana and China and anywhere else. So I think that you'll lose a customer or a patient in this instance if they don't see those. If I'm going for an effect base, if I'm buying let's say a Kana gummy that's for sleep, and I don't get that same effect the next time, I'm not buying Kana again. I'm going to find something else.
Yeah, I don't think that some producers or people who work within the industry quite understand that consistency is such a huge thing. It's also a very emotional thing, because if somebody has results that they depend on and they're not getting it, it affects more than the physicality. It's a very emotional thing.
I think I'll go along a little bit more too. It's also, a lot of these companies, we've seen a lot of great brands that do very well, and all of a sudden they're gone. Mm-hmm. That's a big letdown, and it doesn't help the industry overall. So I think consistent supply is really where it's at. So I think that when brands are trying to enter the space, they need to make sure their supply chain is in check. They need to make sure that just because, I bought flour from, let's say, Iridescent in Thailand, they want to know that that's going to be there for a while. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what pharmacies and doctors, I think that's first and foremost in their minds, to make sure that they're here to stay.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, but that brings us back to the former question, which is a problem right now. That is the regulatory aspect, which most of the other brands from outside of Germany don't understand. It takes time to get product into Germany. The supply chain takes time to get the licenses, to get it on your narcotic license, because internationally it's still a narcotic. And most brands that are entering into Germany think they can enter with a quick access, but that's not happening. You need to bring time and therefore, of course, a little bit of money with you and sit it out till you have all your licenses. That is a big problem for them.
Yeah. It seems like they kind of have a case of wishful thinking.
Yeah, for sure.
So, on that note, what has actually improved patient access or performance?
Yeah, as I said previously, we have a complete other market pull that we try to implement, because what always worked out in the US, especially in California, were the dispensaries. Of course, you had delivery systems and all of that, but most patients were entering into the dispensaries because you had the possibility to get those informations you want before you buy the product. And those informations are mostly missing online. You can't get those information, even when it's just talking to another patient that has the product before you, and you share your information, how was the effect on you. And that is something that we can provide with our shop system, and I guess our patients has a little bit more value coming into our shop than just buy it online, and that also shows our patient ratio. When we started our shop, we had, of course, like everybody else, 90% online shipment. Now we switched it completely, and we have 85% walk-in patients that come into our shop and grab their medicine directly from us without the online shipment. So I guess we definitely give them more value.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you become a trusted source of information.
Yeah.
And that's so incredibly important.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Stefan, what separates durable operators from struggling ones?
So, as I said, compliance is one point, but it's look, the legal framework in Europe is, as we said, different, but it's still developing. So we have two sides. We have to be very flexible in terms of changing regulations, that's for sure. But at the same time, it's a pharmaceutical product produced at least close to traditional pharmaceuticals, the whole supply chain. So as Manuel pointed out, it starts from the grow until the delivery to the pharmacy, and every single step is regulated, actually, is overseen by authorities, and you have to deal with all these things and set up a proper operation. Yeah, that's most important.
Yeah. Do you see any corners being cut? Because it seems like with how well regulated you are, there isn't room for anyone to not be compliant. What happens then?
If you're not compliant? Or?
Yeah, I mean, you can't.
You're gone.
You're gone.
Yeah.
So good riddance.
It's not an option. It's not an option.
Yeah, well, now that's how it should be.
Yeah.
So Sean, what actually drives selection at the pharmacy level?
I think effect-based, products. I think especially in this market, if folks are coming in for an ailment, you fix that ailment, you're going to get a repeat customer. You're going to have a loyal client. So I think that's where this market, should be. It's like with anything else. I mean, think about pharmaceuticals in general. Mm-hmm. You see those commercials that come on. They'll name anything off that you got, and you have this, and this, and that's literally what you're getting the pill for. And I think that this market needs to focus just the same as the major pharmaceuticals. You want sleep, you need this. And if you're a brand and you cannot answer the question, come to us because we have blank, then you're just throwing spaghetti against the wall. Or I say oatmeal because that's a better
But
carb
again,
option.
here we have the problem with the German laws that you're actually not allowed to talk to the patient and say, hey, use this specific product for specific treatment.
Yeah,
for-
we not
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah,
You have the
we as a
possibility.
pharmacy, of course,
And
if
doctors have too.
if
Yeah.
a patient comes to us at our place, of course, I can talk to them directly if they want to have those informations. But the companies itself can't tell them, okay, use my specific pill because you have headache or something like that. That is not allowed in Germany. In the US, of course, you have the advertisement.
Yeah, I'm speaking from the pharmacy's perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's, and then also you have to take into consideration that we are walking chemistry experiments, so what may work for one person may not be the same across the
Of
board.
course, yeah.
Yeah. And that's where consistency comes into play as well, because if there's something that they've relied on that they're successfully recommended by one of your pharmacists,
Yeah.
and then that changes whether it's just a varietal of the flower, that's also incredibly disappointing. So consistency, there you go. Rose, what signals matter versus vanity metrics?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, we're always looking at, are we expanding our medical card registrations in your primary geography? And then are we looking at our telehealth to completion ratio? How many are we driving to completion that we're driving awareness to appointment? And then it's important that we're measuring the signals around patient return rates so that we're looking at the patients in that database of your patient portal and their frequency to purchase. The vanity metrics, I think, are people looking at reach and metrics that are high level that we would get from outside platforms. They're not as lucrative to us when it comes to the patient portal data.
Thank you for that. So the closing round, in no particular order this time, what does standing out mean in 2026?
I would say, you said it before very well, building trust on all levels. So with all your partners in supply chain, with your customers, and of course with the patients, with a compliant product, with well-trained doctors and pharmacies. So on all levels, trust towards patients and amongst each other, that's most important.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And with trust, you can therefore go to outside of the yet patient group and share it with the normal consumers and teach them about the benefits of medical cannabis. Even though it's just consuming clean product without any harmful substances added, that is something you do for your health in the long term, and therefore it's good for the whole health system in Germany at all. So yeah, trust. I would agree.
Yeah, it's a huge thing.
Yeah, I'd say moreover, Manuel, what you were saying, great name, by the way, that's my middle name. I think education is either before or right on tandem with trust. The more you educate your patients, first of all, that validates you as a pharmacy, that you know what you're doing. And therefore, you're building that trust. If you actually educate these folks on what they're doing, how they're taking this product, and it works, then you got them.
Yeah.
I would imagine that the word of mouth then too, when somebody has a successful outcome, they'll suggest other patients come see you as
It's the
well.
cheapest form of marketing. Right, John
Certainly
Shute?
is.
He wasn't listening. Cheapest form of marketing is word of mouth, correct? There you go.
How about you, Rose?
I think it's really building that patient ecosystem and environment that you're focused on, that first-party signal that you can collect with that patient portal and those touch points. That is the gold nugget that we can't do in the German and some of the European markets is that third-party tracking. But the gold that you could turn that compliance and constraint to the benefit is tapping into that first-party patient portal and access.
Mm-hmm. So now we're going to open it up to you for questions.
Let's hear it again for the panel.
Yes, sir?
How do y'all feel about narrowcasting? Like, it's so easy to get caught up in trying to go viral and trying to be on Instagram and trying to be on YouTube and all these things. What about just having like a little email list of 10,000, 5,000 people or a little Patreon and just appealing directly to them and not trying to appeal to too many more people? What? Not the Patreon, whatever.
Are you
I have
speaking
one
from
that I never post on.
Are you speaking from experience, sir?
I'm just speaking because I'm tired of. Listen, it's so hard, because the shit that I'm known for is shit that Instagram hates, right? I got an album called Weed and Sex. They don't want to hear about it.
You got the good stuff.
Yeah, no. Well, I'll tell you all about it. Come on over. But I'm saying, like, so is there a way to do that? Is it always about trying to broadcast? Is there anything about narrowcasting? Can it be effective? Can it be successful?
Absolutely. I think email marketing is probably the most effective rather than social media. I think people think they can just throw everything at it and they're going to get, they want to throw everything on social and they want to do deep discounts. And then you're going to force, patients to buy based on price. And that's just totally wrong. So, yeah.
Jamie has a question here.
I want to know how you see AI impacting the whole idea of marketing and some of the things that we've been talking about or that you've been talking about on this panel. Is AI good or bad or both in the world that you live in?
That's a great question. AI is a great tool. It allows us to produce faster and to test. And so I think that any marketing team or any team that's in a creative copy or visual needs to tap into those things. But it is as important what you're putting into your AI tool and what you're getting out of it. So it's all about the prompts. It's all about the guidance. So garbage in, garbage out. But talk about efficiency and reduction of time and improving ROI. It's tapping into those tools from market research, creative copy, deployment, ROI metrics, CRM marketing and framing internal infrastructures. All of those things can be applied, and we can do it within minutes, sometimes seconds, versus, we take it into your stack team, a year or 6 months to produce.
We'll go this guy here, and then we'll go Bo.
So I know that there are 1,000 strains in Germany these days, right? And then you go to Mary Jane, and you see 60,000 consumers running around learning about the different brands. In my mind, there's a massive disconnect between what goes on at Mary Jane with all these brands and doing their brand marketing, and how the consumer actually finds which of the 1,000 strains they actually want. How does that connection actually happen? How is that marketing being done between this kind of consumer culture, right, which in many ways mimics what's been going on in the US for a long time? How does that merge with the pharmaceutical, medical? How do those worlds meet?
Yeah, since you have a combined market situation, because in Germany you don't have that legal access to cannabis at all. Of course, you have home grow, you have a small amount of CSCs that are allowed to grow, but not for the majority of cannabis consumers. So the only option to get legal cannabis is the access through a prescription and through the pharmacy. And of course, you have cannabis culture and lifestyle that is mixing into the pharma market. And combining those worlds is a little bit difficult for sure, but a few companies try to manage it. And of course, as Stefan said, the regulatory thing is the key. If you are compliant and you stick to the regulatory things, you can manage to combine those both things. But again, as I said earlier, those brands need to be aware that it takes time, that it's not like they say, I want to enter into the market, I want to come in and go into aggressive marketing, and in the next couple of months I'll be there. It maybe takes half a year, maybe takes up to a year. We saw it with, I guess it was the cookies brand. It was the Mary Jane 2023 or something like that. It nearly took 2 years till they have the access through, I guess, Cansativa launched it the first time. Due to the regulatory things. But yeah, I understand the point. It is a little bit tricky because you have the strict pharma grade side that doesn't allow any lifestyle access, and you have the market situation, as I said, no legal access, but the demand of people that want to have good quality cannabis. And yeah.
Was that Cam that said that? Yeah, so I just said, Con, I think you guys did a great job of blending that together, and I carried the hell out of your products in LA because you have a brand, you have a lifestyle, but you also went effect-based with a lot of your gummies. Again, like the sleep I use for personally. The love one's good too. I like that one too. But I can give you like another market, Puerto Rico, where I'm also from. That market doesn't care anything about brands, like at all. And mainly because our people are not that well off, and they know when you buy expensive packaging and all these things, you're paying a lot, for that. So we have the deli style, model where you come in and you get a scoop, and you get the hell out of there. There's probably 1 or 2 brands per dispensary, and that's only for the folks that really want to pay for that. But it's not the case. They just want to feel better.
So I had a quick question. You said that word of mouth is a good form of advertising, but also if you have a bad user experience, then that word of mouth can be to your detriment. So as a compounding pharmacist, how do you guarantee that consistency so that the user experience, they know what they're going to get and they have a consistent experience, especially when you're dispensing flower, because flower could, you may have the same strain name, but it may not be that strain, and the effects based upon age and all of that, the age of your inventory. So how do you ensure that consistency so that you don't drive people away and you ensure that they come back?
Of course, our keys that we have to manage this are a little bit limited. We have to rely on the products that the wholesalers and producers are sharing with us. We get certificates, COAs, all of that, where we can try to stick with the with a consistent line that we say, okay, the THC percentage should be always in line. Of course, it's a plant. Sometimes you have another phenotype. You can't always you can't always grow the same plant. We all know the problems here. We take a look at the quality. We always check the product that came in. We strip it out if the quality doesn't match our needed what we
Your internal
think,
benchmarks.
what we think is good. Then we send it back. Then we tell we don't give it into the market. We don't share market access, and those are our limited opportunities here. But yeah.
I had one other question, since I've got the mic. How do you guys utilize blockchain in your information flows and your controls? Because you talked about privacy and you talked about consent. Do you guys use blockchain to guarantee that COA is the real deal, or that you can ensure that the information is protected as it goes from seed to sale?
We don't. Actually, we are a pharmacy, and in Germany it's not common. We need to stay to the pharmacy regulations, and blockchain isn't a thing in Germany at all.
And actually, the whole supply chain is very strongly regulated.
Yeah.
So the documentation from the grower till the pharmacy is very strict, and the oversight by our authorities. So the result is the same. Maybe we could organize it more efficient. Yeah.
Go.
Hi.
Hi.
I own an early stage startup based out of the United States where we have gummies paired with a clinical grade tracking app for health and wellness outcomes with the gummies, starting with sleep. We just launched our menopause line as well. What I'm curious about, being early stage, is do you guys see the largest differentiator for new brands coming into the space being more about the brand story or more about the data outputs and the patient outcomes?
I think that's actually, it used to be I think it was the brands and the stories first, but I think that was before, folks started getting smarter and more connoisseur about the effects. So I think it goes hand in hand. Like I was saying, I kind of give it up to Connor with that. They were able to bridge both of those gaps. But storytelling, it's important, but it's now, I think it's more important that the effects, that people get those effects. I think once you do that, you're not even, kind of looking at the story.
But is it like Pokemon, right? So the story is everybody likes to play Pokemon Go, right? And then they use that Pokemon Go app, and they have all kind of analytics and data from people running to different places in the middle of the night. They got pictures from daytime, nighttime. They got locations on millions of people, right? So people may be attracted by the story at first, but a lot of the businesses and the partners want to know your data, and they want to know your analytics. So it's almost two different things.
Correct, because when story is one thing, but numbers don't lie, and that's nothing to do with opinion.
Okay, accountants lie.
Or why
Maybe
choose,
numbers.
right? Tell both. Make the
Right,
data sexy
right.
and converting.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck.
Any other questions? We technically have 7 minutes left. We could just, hold hands and sing songs. Jamie has more questions. Don't apologize. Ask your questions. We're here for it.
Full of knowledge, I need it.
And the back is also a question.
Okay, there's a question back there too for Stefan and Manuel, who are both operators in the European market. Is it not true, or is it true, I guess I should state that positively, that if you have already sold cannabis to a customer, that you can send informational newsletters so that you can communicate directly with your customers? Isn't that correct? Not to get them as a customer, but to keep them.
I can't answer that for other markets in Germany, because we have to be a little bit careful. We as producer cannot, because patient data is actually very confidential, and we don't get access to that. So as a pharmacy, that's a little different.
Yes, so of course I can contact my patients, but on a newsletter basis, they have to give me the right to send them information.
They have to opt in, right?
And actually, the
opt in, opt out, yeah.
the kind of information you can send out is
Of
very
course.
restricted.
If he places an order, if the patient places an order, of course I can share him information due to his order or his prescription. But I can't send him an email 2 or 3 weeks afterwards. Hey, listen, I have a new batch coming in because you bought that product. That's not allowed. I can, if he says that to me, hey, share me those informations in the future. Here's my newsletter opt-in. Then, of course, I'm allowed to share, but I need to be very aware and careful.
It can't be targeted. It just has to be a general.
Exactly. I can't advertise it. And the law is pretty. It's not that easy to be on the right path when it comes to advertise pharmaceuticals. Oh.
You're up there? Oh, you have a microphone already. Oh, thank you for making it easy.
Hello? Yeah, I got one. This is for the, the gentleman who is the pharmacist, or from the pharmacy on the panel. Yeah, could you just kind of share your experience as a pharmacist and your place in the supply chain? Like, what does it look like? I'm figuring that you are kind of watching your inventory of cannabis in the pharmacy. It's getting low. You place an order to whom? To the grower in Canada, say?
To us, hopefully.
And then you receive the order. It comes in, and then you break it up and you put it into packaging. And how does that process work?
Yeah, basically, like you described it. Now, of course, I check my inventory, but it's a little bit different because we do this. Compared to other markets, of course, we do it not that long, but we are in the cannabis market in Germany since nearly 5 years now, and we started on the narcotics, so it was a little bit different there, and So we have a little bit more market access than a normal pharmacy would have when they say, I would now enter into the cannabis market. So we are looking to implement our own supply chain as well. So of course we rely on good partnerships like to Stefan from Remexan. So we order a lot of products from him, for example. As I said, we are trying to implement our own products as well, just to be a little more diverse than the other market competitors. But of course, I check my inventory. If I'm running low, I need to screen it. I place an order, but we are also a little bit different than other pharmacies. Other pharmacies sometimes have 100 or 150 different strains in their in stock. We, for example, stick between 30 up to 40 maximum. So I am more able to give my patients a better quality, of course, because I strip it out, and I can have more product from one amount from one strain in-house, so I have more consistency for my patient, that he knows, okay, when I buy today, the chance that I get it the next month is always there. And yeah, I place my order, I get it in-house, I do our checks that we need to do. So we check it, is it a flower? So there are a little bit regulatory things we have to do. And when I get a prescription, we have to compound it. So we have our big bags, 100 grams, 400 grams, maybe up, sometimes a kilo. And depending on the prescription, sometimes it's 5 grams, sometimes it's up to 100 grams or 300 grams. You had those cases. And then we need to compound those specific amounts. If I have a prescription that is pretty often, I can pre-pack it up to 100 units per day. So of course, with a small inventory and pre-packed products, I can definitely be more efficient when walk-in patients come in. So they don't have long waiting time because I can hand it out to them directly. And yeah, that's basically how it works. And the prescription side, of course, the patient order their prescription either by
just like going to a pharmacy. Yeah. Okay. Cool. We have time for one more. There you go, and then we'll move on.
Are there any clinical trials that you know of? Because it sounds like it's all based on either what the brand is telling you or what customers are feeding back to you, which is important. Having a device, like you said earlier, is probably even better. But there doesn't seem to be any clinical trials, and I understand the cost around clinical trials run by large pharmaceutical companies who have the IP. But now we're getting big enough brands who can combine together to have at least 20, 30 strains that are given a proper clinical trial. Thus, the doctors could be able to say, this does help with sleep, this does help with anxiety, this does help with other things. It seems to be the most obvious thing missing in the medical cannabis world.
Yeah, I guess the big problem, but I would lead it to Stefan. The big problem is the nature of cannabis. It's not a finished pharmaceutical product. It is a nature product that we need to handle in the pharmacy, and I guess that's the problem with that. Why those wholesalers or other producers don't rely on those.
It's technically not possible or not comparable to other pharmaceutical product because the product itself is lacking some kind of consistency. So yes, that's one part. But of course there are trials done, but it's more, let's say, I don't know the English term. You observe how the flowers work in the patients. That's happening a lot. But let's say what you learn from that is somehow restricted because of the nature of the product.
Right, and I think the clinical trials, in terms of more of a pharmaceutical or pill perspective, that's based on chemical and that reaction. They're looking at reactionary causes, not so much, how it feels. So the plant is the plant.
It's very tricky too because different strains are, they affect people different ways, right? Like for some people, OG makes them excited or, gives them energy, or some people OG Kush makes them sleepy or whatnot. It's really hard to nail down how terpenes and THC affects different people. But there should be more studies. There's a lot of stigma about it, though. Anytime you want to propose a cannabis study, people freak out.
Well, there are studies, but going back to what you were saying and what we were talking about earlier, we're walking chemistry experiments, so everybody reacts differently.
Oh, yeah.
I have 25,000 hours of experience with human beings in cannabis, and in all of the years, close to 20 years that I've been working with that, I've actually had people who've had very uncomfortable experiences on a 20-to-1 ratio CBD to THC. It's very rare, but it does happen. Neurodivergence comes into play. As hormones come into play, especially when you're looking at, women like, obviously.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It completely is.
You should
Yeah.
fund one. You should
You
fund
said you should fund one.
You should fund a study.
Yes.
There
we
you go.
need that.
We're gonna pass the hat. If everybody could put $100,000 into the hat, we could have $1 million
more like
study.
100
You want to testify today? Put something in the collection plate, people.
Add a little bit more.
Yeah, I guess so.
I think-
100K is a little bit shortcut.
I think that's where we're gonna wrap it up right there. We're out of time, actually.
Well, I want to thank our panelists for joining us today. Please contact them,
Thank you very much.
ask them questions.
It's fantastic. Thank you again very much. That concludes the speaker section of the International Cannabis Business Conference Berlin 2026. Once again, we'd like to thank North High Laboratories for coming out. We will see you all in the lobby for drinks and smokes. And Ian is doing his Berlin walking tour tomorrow. Maybe we'll see you there in the morning if you're not too hungover. And we'll see you back here April 13th through the 15th, 2027, right here in Berlin. My name is Ngaio Bilam. On behalf of Alex Rogers and the entire ICBC team, we bid you good night.